Mornings have a rhythm. You can hear it, feel it. And at Quaker, we fuel it. With 100% whole grain oats and a good source of fiber in every bowl, helping you turn that rhythm into your soundtrack for a great day. Fuel to start whatever's next. Quaker, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Welcome back to the Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping mature women heal, rejuvenate, and truly thrive in every area of life. Today's episode explores a topic that is becoming increasingly relevant in our modern world, yet it's still often overlooked in conversations around holistic health, and that is EMF exposure and how it may be impacting our well-being. Joining me today is Beverly Jensen, a Ph.D. researcher and parent consultant who has made it her mission to help women protect their families in today's increasingly wireless world. Beverly brings a unique blend of scientific insight and real-life experience, translating complex research into simple, practical tools that empower women, especially those in midlife, to support both their own health and the health of their children without feeling overwhelmed. Her passion for this work is deeply personal, growing up with a father in radiation safety and later navigating her own sensitivity to electromagnetic radiation. Beverly understands firsthand how impactful this hidden environmental factor can be. Today, she guides families, particularly mothers, through meaningful, hands-on strategies to reduce exposure and create healthier homes. In this conversation, we'll explore why EMFs may be an overlooked root cause in holistic wellness, especially for women navigating hormonal changes, shifts in energy, and the responsibility for caring for everyone in their home. This is an eye-opening and empowering episode that will leave you thinking differently about the invisible influences in your everyday life, and more importantly, what can be done about them. Let's dive in. Beverly, welcome to my podcast today. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm really excited about this very important topic of EMFs. So I want to begin by asking you, can you share your own personal journey? What led you to focus on EMF exposure and its impact on health?
Oh, okay. Actually, I've been aware of this whole topic since I was a child. My dad worked as an engineer for the U.S. Army Signal Corps and on Okinawa, and he was developing satellite communication technology. So he was developing this technology that enables all the devices we're using today. And whenever I wanted to visit him in his workshop, I would get this little speech, which has become my mantra. If a device sends radio signals and receives radio signals, it's dangerous. It's emitting radiation, so you should stay back and keep it turned off when you can. And I heard this for years. And because he was working as a civil servant, we stayed on the island while everybody else rotated every 2 years. This is in the 60s. And in 1999, fast forward 30 years, I bought my 19-year-old daughter the family's first cell phone. And I bought this for her because she was commuting an hour to college every day. and I wanted her to have some way to communicate. And I said to her, do not ever put this against your head. Use speakerphone. There was no wired uh, choices then. So I said, use speakerphone and do not carry it on your body and keep conversations short. It was 1999. 20 years later, I didn't remember that rule. If it sends radio signals and receives radio signals, stay back. And I had moved to Mexico and was sitting 6 feet from a router, 8 to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I became sensitive to this. And obviously, I had forgotten the rule. There actually should be a label on these routers. Put it in the least used room and turn it off at night. But anyway, so I left Mexico, went to visit another daughter in Washington, D.C. And as I was walking, it's April, it's warm, it's springtime, it's lovely. And I'm walking down a street. And in cities, cell towers are hidden in architecture. And as I walked down the street, my arms, which were bare, first they began to itch. And then I kept walking and they started to burn. And finally I must have been right beside the tower because my skin began to crawl. And these are classic symptoms of non-ionizing radiation. And that's what cell towers and cell phones and all these devices do to us. I think instead of the term EMF, which means frequencies or even fields, it's more accurately called EMR, electromagnetic radiation, because it is the radiation that's causing the problem. And we are all electrical beings. Every cell in our body is working because of a electrical impulse from the heart or from the brain. When those frequencies that we have in our being are interfered by these man-made electromagnetic frequencies, then this is where the problem begins. And it's very nice that you're working mainly with women because it's women's health that is, the children are in serious condition from conception these years. But women have always been more susceptible to electrical energies. I'm reading the book by Arthur Furstenberg, The Invisible Rainbow. This is the history of electricity in life. And I didn't realize this, but they were doing experiments with electricity back in the mid 1700s. And in the 1800s, there were shops set up on every corner by people who had no medical qualifications of any sort offering electrical treatments. It's like getting a Coca-Cola. You could get an electrical treatment. But in the literature, there was medical literature published even in the 17 and 1800s. And several of those doctors who were writing then noticed and made notes of how much more sensitive women were to these electrical treatments. They didn't respond well. And yeah.
I have a question
Yeah.
that I want to go back to, and that is your skin. You said your skin was crawling. What exactly do you mean by that?
This episode is brought to you by Google Health. Stop chasing someone else's definition of health. What matters is what's healthy for you. Google Health offers a new kind of coach built with Gemini for effortless tracking, sleep insights, and holistic coaching tailored to you. Visit googlestore.com to learn more and start a new relationship with your health. Requires Google account, Google Health app, internet, and Google Health premium subscription. Features subject to change. Availability and results vary. Not intended for medical purposes. Works independently of Gemini apps. Check responses for accuracy.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Was it welts? Were you getting welts on your
It literally felt like the tissues under my skin were undulating like a snake. That's the best expression.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And but as soon as I got out of the area, the whole problem stopped.
Wow.
Yeah. Now my daughter owns a townhouse in DC, and she's just 2 blocks from a giant tower on top of a big apartment building. And I shudder every time I think of what's the health consequences of the people in that building. It cannot be good. And one day I'm standing in the backyard of her house and I had on capri pants. And I was out there watching the cat groomer, actually, is what I was doing there. And as I was standing there, the lower part of my leg, which was all exposed, looked like it was getting 1,000 mosquito bites, little red dots. It was itching crazy. So I stood out there and endured that for just a very few minutes. And I didn't know what it was, didn't know what was causing that. But I went back into the house and it ended. The red dots went away and the itching stopped. It was the radiation from that cell tower 2 blocks away. And I consider myself the canary in the coal mine. But I think women, a lot of women, are the environmental canaries. We are the first to feel all of these environmental impacts, toxins that we're being exposed to. We get more autoimmune diseases than men do. But let's talk about what's happening with the kids. The children are now being born into a world in which there's electromagnetic frequencies everywhere. And I'm going to do a brochure just on pregnancy and conception, how to protect the baby while you're pregnant. I see pictures of women with the laptop balanced on their abdomen
Oh,
and or even using a cell phone, or they're sitting and they've got the cell phone sitting on the abdomen. And there's been quite a bit of research done, especially by a scientist at the Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, D. Kun Lee. He's done a lot of research on the fetus and what happens to the child. And the weeks, especially the last trimester and the first few months of after birth, are so critical for the child to be kept away from all electronics because the brain and the nervous system are just developing. And this is just a critical time for the child. In China, there's a law that when a woman's out in public, she must be wearing a shield over the abdomen, and the police will check that she is.
wow.
So they are aware of this. And telecoms worked very hard to keep American residents uninformed,
Clueless.
clueless.
Clueless. As you're telling me this story, I'm thinking of my own personal experience. I live in New York, but we also have a house in Florida that we recently purchased a couple of years ago. And behind the house are all of these big wires. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're electrical. I don't know. But when I go outside and get on my bicycle, I leave the garage. Within less than 5 minutes, my whole entire back breaks out into giant welts.
Wow.
Giant welts. I thought it was the sun. It happens in New York as well during the summertime, but not as severe. But I always thought it was from the sun because this is recent. It never happened to me before. It's only been the last couple of years. But now, as you're talking, I'm thinking, could it be all of those wires that are in the back of that house that are doing it? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you who would know. There's a whole field called building biologists, and there are engineers who specialize in doing an assessment and mitigation of these impacts in our homes. They would know. But what you're saying sounds like major electrical transfer lines. And yes, that would cause such a thing.
big wires and boxes too on the towers. Yeah, I don't know what they're all about, but that's, wow, something to think about. Why do
Yeah.
you believe that EMF exposure is still like such an overlooked piece of holistic health?
And the reason is because there's no specific test that tells the MD this is the problem, and
Oh,
they have no solutions either. And let's just talk about the whole area of women's health. There's two books that came out in the last few years about the treatment of women's by the health industry of the United States. And I just ate them up when I saw them because they pretty much told the story of why I have my whole life sought medical care and health healing outside of the allopathic medicine. And so those books talk about that. And I think that, yeah, that there's no test that tells how this electrical or these frequencies are impacting us, and there's certainly no drug to prescribe for it. So the MDs are lost, and it's really it. I was talking with a friend recently. I said, if there was ever a time when we need to become our own doctor, this is it.
yeah. Are there some subtle signs or symptoms that EMFs may be affecting someone's health? Is there anything to look out for besides the fact that maybe my back blows up?
Yes, the first symptom for everybody is sleep troubles,
Okay.
problems sleeping. And there's 70 million Americans having trouble sleeping. And this is a very recent development. And it's very problematic because it's during the sleep time in which the body and the brain, particularly, restores itself. It's when our short term memory is transferred into the long term files. It's when the brain cleans itself out. It's got a whole system there. And 60% of that cleansing, that renewal happens during sleep. So it's a real problem when we're having trouble sleeping. Headaches, severe headaches. And it's interesting that the only time I have gotten calls to go test a home from the man of the house or at his insistence that it happened was because he was suffering. Otherwise, it's always been the moms who have called me to come and do a measurement, meter testing of the homes. Yeah,
Do you think that midlife women are more vulnerable to EMF exposure? Can it be impacting their hormones or energy? You said sleep, but or energy
yeah.
level, or is there that particular stage of life where they're more sensitive because of so many other changes going on in their health?
I haven't seen studies about that, but
Oh,
that's not surprising. It sounds more logical, doesn't it?
yeah.
Because it's our whole symphony of hormones that make us more susceptible to all of these environmental issues. Some of the other symptoms of from this radiation are irritability or lack of focus, memory issues.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and it's interesting, back in the 1700s, they had the list of impacts from the electrical experiments, we'll call them, was the same list of all the health impacts that we hear today from the radio frequencies from the towers and the cell phones.
So, do you think that turning off the Wi-Fi in the evening is
Oh,
enough to be protecting? I work from home and my router is actually in my bedroom.
oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about what we can do to reduce this
Okay.
because there are very dramatic impacts and we really do not fully recover. I have been working and paying attention to this for 6 years now, trying to recover, and I can't say that I fully am. And it's getting there as there. I'm not living where there's any 5G yet, and I won't be because I'm at 2.5G. I was susceptible. So anyway, let's talk about what we can do about this. And I always say that every time I've gone into a home, the router is sitting in the living room, square against beside the TV.
Yes.
Except in one home when it was in a bedroom, and that's even worse. So here's what you do with the router. It needs to be moved to the least used room. And some people can move it into a garage, or I think the utility room is a good space for it. And then shield it, cover it. The simplest, easiest, cheapest way to do this is buy at the hardware store at Lowe's for $10. You can get a roll of aluminum screening material for replace your screen door or screen windows. Make sure it's real metal because there will be one of metal and there will be 15 of plastic looking like screen, but that won't work. It's got to be metal. And that can be cut with kitchen scissors and then just staple the sides of it and leave the back open so you can get the cords into it. But I went back to Seattle this summer, and the woman downstairs in an apartment had gotten a new router, and you can't, they sell router Faraday boxes. They're $50 or so or more, but they're all one size or one shape. Her router looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It was quite a piece of art. But the radiation on it was 297,000 milliwatts per square meter, which is huge. And when I came into the house, I upstairs, I had to be wrapped up in shielding material until I could get that router covered. We wrapped it up with 2 or 3 layers of the aluminum screening. And measured the radiation levels afterwards. I had reduced it by 97%. And we still had enough frequencies coming upstairs for a couple of laptops and cell phones.
So it doesn't affect the performance of your devices?
No. Now, the safest thing to do is to run an Ethernet cord to your computer. If you're spending a lot of time at the computer, like I am spending too much time at the computer, I have an Ethernet cord that runs from the back of the router. The cord comes across in this case, it's an apartment, throw a rug over it. And so nobody's going to trip on it and it's safe. But then you put your laptop into airplane mode and you've got access to the internet, and the radiation on the computer is negligible. Tame the router. Move it out of the living room or to the least used room, and it absolutely cannot be a bedroom. And then turn it off at night so that it reduces the frequencies running through the house. You can actually, for $10, get a timer on Amazon to shut it off automatically an hour before going to sleep. And that will help everybody sleep better. And I've talked with people who are in apartment buildings, and when you turn on your cell phone and you see the number of networks available, that's how many networks frequencies are beaming into your space.
Wow.
Yeah, I think my daughter lived in an area of DC. I think we counted 139 coming into her apartment. This is before she moved to the house where we could block it, but there was the giant cell tower nearby. We all, as a group of women and as moms and Americans, need to be talking about this, because the FCC has been told 3 times by the courts, and most recently in 21, to go back and look at the science, reconsider these standards, the standards for safety limits were set in was actually 86, was put into law in 96. And it's absolutely irrelevant to life today. And so they're not going to change this. They keep insisting that it's the only harm is thermal, putting the phone near your head. So they say to keep it an inch away from your head. But this is not the story, really.
Get business done with the new American Express Graphite Business Cash Unlimited card. With unlimited 2% cash back on all eligible purchases, unlimited 5% cash back on flights and prepaid hotels booked through American Express Travel Online, and a flexible spending capacity that can grow with your business, you'll have the confidence to keep building. Apply today and earn a welcome offer of $1,500 cash back after you spend $50,000 in qualifying purchases on your new card within the first 6 months of card membership. Terms apply. Learn more at go.amex/graphite.
Amazon Health AI presents Painful Thoughts.
Why did I search the internet for answers to my cold sore problem? Now I'm stuck down a rabbit hole filled with images of alarmingly graphic sores in various stages of ooze. I can clear my search history, but I can never unsee that.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. Amazon Health AI gets you the right care, fast. Healthcare just got less painful.
Let me ask you, as a parent consultant, what are your biggest concerns when it comes to children growing up in today's wireless world?
How many devices are in the home and in our purse? And with some people, the phone is an extension of their arm. They never put it down, and it's not in a shielding case. And then they're holding it. I've seen parents having the child on a pack, they're on their chest. They're holding the phone away from their head, but it's right next to the baby's head.
Yeah.
People just absolutely are not aware of this. I have decided just in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking with on podcasts like 3 and 4 a week for 4 months, 5 months now. And I've been a little bit of time since I've done this now, gone into people's homes. But it's always the women who are most concerned about this, who are the ones who call, who are the ones who want to make changes. And I've decided, and there's a reticence among men. And I think there's a physiological reason for this, because the women are more susceptible to it. And here's the biggest rub. It's always throughout history, it's been women who make the family's health decisions. We've always been the ones who guide all health choices. And the men go to see a doctor when they're pushed in by the scruff of their neck, or an ambulance takes them.
Yeah, that's that.
And I've decided I'm going to, there's no reason to believe that telecom or the FCC is run by telecom, was the Harvard public health professor who created the term captured agency for the FCC. And that's because that government office that is supposed to be regulating the telecom industry is managed by, controlled by, totally influenced by the industry. That's why they call it a captured agency. And there's no indication that this is going to change anytime soon. And they're not going to update these safety regulations. So I'm calling on moms to engage in safety habits, change the way we interface with these devices. Because I read years ago, and this is true, that a successful social movement requires 3% of the population. When 3% of the population, and they now say 3.5, changes their beliefs and their behaviors, the culture shifts and the laws are changed. I said, okay, we can get 10 million moms to engage in this. We, the moms and the grandmoms, can change how people use these devices and change behaviors.
Yeah. So, what are some early habits that parents can create to protect their children without creating fear or overwhelm?
There's actually just in the last year been a few organizations that have formed for parents. There are two women in the UK. In April, they started an Insta group. It's ironic that we have to do this with social media, which is a whole lot of a part of the problem. But they in April they called for parents to get together to save childhood. In 2 months, 60,000 parents had joined that group. 60,000 in 2 months.
Wow.
There's a Facebook group called Wait Until Eighth. That's eighth grade. And the last number I heard for that Facebook group was 100,000. Parents are waking up to the impact that having these screens does to the child's whole well being.
Yeah.
There's been a number of studies on the mental health condition of the teens in the last 10 years because and it's especially affected young girls. They have gotten depressed. It's like you got 5,000 friends and nobody to go to the movies with.
Yeah. Does
Yeah.
it hinder your brain as far as learning or retaining information for young children?
Yes, we can talk about that too, especially the younger ones. The American Pediatric Association says no screens in the first 2 years. And then from ages 3 to 5, not more than an hour a day, with the parent sitting with the child, interpreting what they're watching, commenting on it, because they won't truly understand. But see parents using the device as a babysitter,
Yeah.
and to let them hold the device is the worst. My youngest daughter with 3 kids under 10, they don't have TV in the house. They don't have screens. The kids get an hour of Paw Patrol when the parents go out for date night. They get to watch it on a computer. So they're really excited on their parents' date night because they're going to get an hour of entertainment on a screen. And that family has also got these little area near the front door, which is the communications center. So when the parents come in the house and with their phones, they put them on into that communications center, and the computers are kept in another room with the router screened, and I offer on my website it was screens for it's films to put over all of our screens to save your eyesight. It's from a Spanish company. And anyway, so they've got this all managed, but they're going to come to the time when they're also dealing with access in schools. And this can be a real problem if the school bought the salesman's pitch. They can be using more routers than they need, and it exposes everybody. And then if the computers in the classroom are not wired, back about 15 years ago, the new director of the Los Angeles school district went into a classroom with a RF meter. He said the level of radiation was like a low-level microwave oven. And this is the second largest school district in the country after New York. And he wired the school district. But it's not real common for the administrations and the school boards to be aware of this issue. And I've even got cell towers in schoolyards, which absolutely needs to be stopped and removed. Yeah. So
Do you think that there's enough communication and awareness around this topic? Because I don't see it talked about all that much.
the schools
In
are
general,
all the whole thing. No, there isn't. And there's more every month. I'm telling you this because the 5G is weapons grade. Russia, the Soviets were among the most, they developed this technology and they studied it closely. Between 1960 and the early 90s, the Soviets did 800 studies on the effects of this low ELF, extremely low frequencies. Think Alexa. Alexa is extremely low frequency, which your cheap meter from Amazon will not even register that. But it's when I go into a home, these devices like Echo and Alexa and the cameras over the babies' beds, they are the worst offenders. Anyway, so the Soviets did 800 studies tracking the health of a worker in a factory where there was ELF, extremely low frequencies, if he was there for 2 years. And then they would follow him when he left. If he went to an environment with no radiation, which was easy to do in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s, not today, but anyway, if he left in 2 years, he would recover. If he went to another environment with ELF, extremely low frequencies, he would not recover. So they had done all these studies. And when this whole subject of 5G for commercial use came up, Russia now said there will be no 5G in the public here. That will be kept by the military. That is a military option. So
they don't have 5G in Russia.
Not in the public.
Wow.
The military has it. They've had it for a long time. But consider the fact that 5G is being put out on our streets.
Yeah.
It's frightful. Right now, and I didn't check the news last night, there's a bill in the House of Representatives called number 2289. I ask all women, and I ask you to put this when you post this conversation, add a note for the nationalcall.org. And if we're going to have any control over the telecom, it's going to be the public who does it. And I think that's really means the women. And that national call is run by a woman attorney in New York City. And she tracks all the telecom bills that come to Congress. In the last Congress, there were 90 bills they were trying to get through. 4 of them got through. One of them, which is a disaster, it allows the parks, if they choose, to put cell towers in the national parks. This is so the bears and the foxes and the moose, I guess, can have cell calls. But anyway, it's disaster. But there were 90. She got it down to 4. Now there are 50. But this one that's in the House of Representatives that came up on the floor yesterday, it would eliminate you and me and all residents of cities and the city itself from any review of applications to put up cell towers or to modify them, monitor them. It bypasses all local controls. It will be an amazing disaster if that is passed.
Did you email me that information so I put it in the show notes?
Yes, I will. Okay. But they had this organized, so it would take you 2 minutes to make a phone call to your representative or your senator and tell them why this cannot happen, because that would allow them to put up a cell tower could appear on your street 5 feet from your bedroom overnight. They can put it in the parks where we go for a break from all this.
Yeah,
for some nature. They could put it anywhere and there would be no local controls. And I don't know. I think the people who are representing us in Congress, do they not have families? Do they not have any personal interest? But
are they even educated about the ramifications of this? Maybe they're not even educated on. Who knows?
I don't know. But when they allowed Bayer to continue selling glyphosate to the farmers and prohibit the states from putting in their own policies are negating the state's own laws, and the Congress approved that. You've got to wonder, what are they going to do with this? But anyway, 10 million moms. We can change this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you
Uh,
see this going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm saying that we have 3 years to get this straightened out, to change the culture so that everybody is not walking around all the time. We just 10 years ago, nobody expected us to be available 24/7. We
Yes.
don't have to answer calls all the time. And I've got friends who they check their WhatsApp 2 or 3 times a day, maybe. And you just don't expect quick answers. And we don't need it.
Yeah.
If it's really important, you'll make a phone call.
What about EMF clothing protectors? I know there's all kinds of clothing out now, baseball caps and sweaters and t-shirts what's your
Yes,
feeling on that?
I own most of them.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I have reduced the amount of traveling that I can do, especially the last 3 years. And airports and now aircraft are the most dangerous places for me because of the concentration of the cell phones, and the businesses are continuously expecting us to use the phone. They want you to, even at the airport, your tickets on your phone, and you get
Yes.
messages from the airline on your phone.
Yes.
And so everybody at the airport is using a phone. And so for years now, I've got it's my summer cape with this, the fabric has got silver in it. And that was effective for a few years. There's a new, some of these products are sold on less EMF, which I offer on the Medicine Bowl website. They're very effective and, and really necessary. And I've got the grandchildren who do a lot of international travel. I've had capes made for them because, again, the children who do a lot of traveling are subjected to all that cell phone toxicity in the airports. And
Yeah.
now a lot of the aircraft are putting Wi-Fi
Yes.
in the planes. I found that it's not as much of a problem if it's wired through the seats and you have to plug in your device to the seat. The really harmful one is where you've got that Wi-Fi signal beaming up in the front of the cabin, means they're just sending that Wi-Fi signal through the air. I had one incident. This was the last time I did an international trip, and I was on a flight from Frankfurt into Africa, and I started having a heart seizure, meaning my heart was just flipping all over, and I was wearing shielding, but it wasn't enough. But I had in my carry-on a PEMF mat. This is interesting. These frequencies, I always say, they can heal us and they can harm us and they can also kill us. But anyway, I pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat. I was in my carry-on. I've had one for 7 years, 8 years now. And I put that on for the heart function and heart meridian, and I was able to calm it down. I had to use that twice in the 8-hour flight. I told my daughter I would have been DOA, dead on arrival.
Wow.
So I did some research into what's going on airplanes. And there is one medical facility that is the on call for medical reports, not on call to help during a crisis, but to track what is the medical situation on planes. And the majority of medical emergencies on planes are nerves. The word just escaped me.
Like anxiety?
Neurologist. No,
Wow.
neurological.
Oh, neurological. Yes.
Yes, and especially among children.
Wow.
And it's okay. And no neurologist on board is going to be able to help. This is why I've got my grandkids wrapped up in cloaks when they get on these planes because they're doing a lot of international travel. They live overseas. So anyway.
Beverly, leave us with some final thoughts on this topic.
There's one thing that everybody can do tonight. And I think that is consider the bedroom a sanctuary for sleep and rest and recovery. Remove all devices out of your bedroom. You need to get a battery operated clock, but remove all the electronic devices from the bedroom. And if there's a smart TV in the bedroom, unplug it because it will be still sending out frequencies, even if when it's off, if it's plugged in. Unplug it, but remove all the devices. And I think do an experiment for 3 nights. Sleep with all your phones. Never have your charger in your bedroom. That charger should be in a very neutral area of the house that you don't spend a lot of time. But no chargers, no cell phones, no laptops, and unplug the smart TV. And do that. You can do it tonight and then make it an experiment. Try it for 3 nights and see if you don't sleep better.
This episode is brought to you by Tidy Cats, here to level up your litter game with their new Performance Plus lineup. Your home is your happy place, your cats, VIPs. So when it comes to the litter box, excellence isn't optional. Choose from products that specialize in max power clumping, low tracking, or odor fighting so advanced, stink won't see it coming. Tidy Cats Performance Plus. Mission mighty, keep it tidy. Shop now at tidycats.com.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino Ciao. A gift from Italy to your home. San Pellegrino Ciao is a flavored sparkling water made with real fruit juice, finished with a pinch of Sicilian salt for a perfectly balanced taste. So which flavor will you choose? Peach, lime, blood orange, cherry, or maybe the all-new limoncello? Crafted in Italy with 0 grams of added sugar. San Pellegrino Ciao. Buy it now.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
great advice. Great advice. I have trouble sleeping. So and my Wi-Fi is in my bedroom.
Okay.
And for the past probably 6 weeks, I've been sleeping in the living room because I just can't fall asleep in my bedroom. And that could be the reason why. So
I
I'm
would
going
bet
to
money
try
on
it.
it.
Yeah.
I would bet money on it. I've gone into Airbnbs and I cannot sleep in the bedroom because there's a router on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beverly, this was
Drywall
a
with protection.
great conversation, eye-opening. I'm sure that my listeners are really going to take this to heart because they're all about staying healthy and living long, vibrant lives. And disconnecting from our devices is just another step, like eating healthy and exercising and getting good sleep. This is another step that we could do to improve our health and the quality of our health. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your message with us. And I love what you're doing, and I wish you the best of luck with everything. And please come on again, especially if there's something new that we need to know. I'd love to have you again.
Okay, great. Thank you.
As we wrap up today's conversation with Beverly Jensen, I hope this episode has opened your eyes to something many of us don't often think about: the invisible environment that we're living in every single day. What I love most about Beverly's approach is that it isn't about fear. It's about awareness, empowerment, and taking simple, intentional steps to protect your health and the health of those you love, especially for us as women in midlife. When our bodies are already navigating so many changes, it's so important to look at all the pieces that could be impacting our energy, our sleep, our hormones, and our overall well-being, including the ones that we can't see. The beautiful takeaway here is that you don't even have to do everything at once. Even the smallest changes in your home and daily habits can begin to make a meaningful difference. Thank you to Beverly for sharing your wisdom, your personal journey, and for giving us practical tools that we could start using right away. And to all of you listening, if this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with a friend, a daughter, another woman in your life who would benefit from this information. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and join me every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for more conversations to help you heal, rejuvenate, and thrive, mind, body, and soul. Until the next time, take care of yourself and remember, true wellness begins with awareness. Thank you again.